Underneath a small stream gap, a tourist found a young deer lying motionless. Its breathing was weak at the moment. It can be assumed that the deer accidentally fell into the stream gap. Then it tried to climb up, but couldn't because the rocks around the edge were very slippery. The young deer had tried so hard that it was exhausted and could only wait for someone to come and rescue it. The miracle happened when the tourist saw and rescued it. He kindly dried the deer off and wrapped it in a warm blanket and provided it with food and water to regain strength. After its physical health had recovered, the deer returned to its natural forest habitat. A young girl discovered a young deer trapped in an iron fence and immediately reported it to her father for help. The deer was trapped tightly inside and couldn't move, and when it was discovered, it was in a lot of pain and exhausted. He used pliers to cut each section of the fence around the animal and released it. Even though it was released, the young deer continued to be frightened. Its small eyes were still full of fear and didn't dare to move. The father and daughter waited and watched until the deer rested and recovered. Then, the father carried the young deer to a pile of wood in the yard because he had discovered that the young deer's mother had walked there before. They hoped that the mother deer would appear soon to encourage and provide the young deer with more energy so that it could recover in spirits and return home. Another deer also got stuck in the middle of the iron gap of the fence. It thought it could successfully crawl through the gap and get out. But the little deer miscalculated, and now it had to bear the unpredictable danger consequences. 2 iron bars created a very rigid and difficult gap to release the deer outside. A passerby tried to pull it out, but it was very difficult. With the pressure of the small, sturdy gap, the deer kept screaming in pain. The man was also trying to gently push the deer out, but everything still seemed impossible. He had to call the animal rescue team quickly to help. Hopefully, the poor deer will be released quickly and safely. In the green grass field of that garden, a flycatcher bird planned to land and rest and catch prey. But an unexpected variable occurred that prevented it from moving. It had landed on a piece of chewing gum on the ground. The bird tried to fly away, but the gum was too sticky. If things continued like this, the small bird would either collapse due to hunger or be harmed by its enemies. Fortunately, a young man appeared early and helped. He gently and meticulously removed the chewing gum completely from the bird's leg without causing pain. Finally, the flycatcher bird was freed and continued to fly freely in nature. One day, a man saw a motionless flycatcher bird lying upside down in front of the door of his building. He thought the bird had collided with a glass door and could not be saved. But suddenly, he noticed the bird's eyes were moving. So he tried to turn the bird back to normal. Surprisingly, the bird could still stand, but it was still very scared and unable to fly away. The man sat there, waiting for the bird's health to return before feeling relieved and returning to his room. The animal rescue team observed for a long time the group of seals resting on the sea, and they spotted a seal tangled in plastic debris under the water, tightly wrapped around its body and creating a deep wound. Of course, they had to take immediate action to save the animal's life. The rescue team executed a calm approach plan and distracted the group of seals. After moving to a certain distance, they injected the injured seal with anesthesia, then quickly removed the debris from its body and minimized touching the wounds as much as possible. The seal rescue mission was a complete success. In the midst of a dry and charred field with signs of the impact of landmines, the locals discovered a distressed elephant lying there, constantly moaning. They immediately understood that the elephant was in critical condition and immediately called the local rescue team. The rescue team arrived at the scene as soon as they received the news, and as they suspected, the elephant had trouble with a landmine and now its mouth was full of wounds. The doctors quickly began treatment, injecting medicine, administering fluids and nutrients into the elephant's body. Then, they cared for the wounds inside the mouth, trying to heal them as quickly as possible so that the elephant could enjoy a delicious food in the forest again. However, the elephant still needed rest and care in the coming days. A bat was rescued when it was injured in the backyard of a house. It had collided with a fruit bat trap on a tree and was injured when trying to escape. Although it managed to escape, its wings and toes were injured and still bleeding and infected. A kind man tried to disinfect the wound and bandage it. He constantly applied ointment, fed it, and gave it enough water. In just 1 week, the bat had fully recovered and could fly back to nature. Through a surveillance camera placed in front of their house, a family saw a group of children abandoning a poor, small dog. The dog was thin and emaciated due to being starved for too long, and it had lost a lot of fur. The kind family took the dog into their home and took care of it with kindness. They took it to a medical center and got medication for it. The dog was well cared for, bathed, and fed with adequate food and water. In a short period, the dog showed obvious signs of improvement, and its fur grew back very well. The dog was very happy and grateful to be rescued and nurtured in a home full of love. A mischievous dog ran onto a thin layer of ice and had an accident in the middle of a pond. It only knew to try to cling to the thin layer of ice and hope for the help of its owner. The owner also tried his best, rushing to the dog's location, but the thin and cold layer of ice made it difficult for him to move easily. Fortunately, a brave young man rushed in and successfully rescued the dog to the shore. He did not hesitate to brave the cold and dangerous, to run quickly to save the dog and bring it back to the shore.